Welcome to No Resume Required, where we speak to extraordinary people about unconventional paths that led to purposeful lives. I'm so excited to be here today for my first inaugural episode, and my special guest today is Christopher Corey. Chris is a real estate veteran turned fashion disruptor, a modern day Rat Pack icon, and a case study in personal branding. But above all that, he's my good friend and brother for over 20 years. So excited to have you here today, brother.
All those things I can't live up to, but 20 years of friendship, that's been the greatest part of that intro that I could possibly imagine.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So let's start at the beginning. You had a 20 plus year career in real estate. What drew you to it?
The real estate part of it?
Yeah, the real estate.
Well, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say at that time, at that point in my life, it was the money.
Right.
But it was nothing that I thought I was going to get myself into. I'd gone to school for interior design, and I couldn't really figure out a way to cultivate clients, especially being so young. I mean,
Right.
who was going to trust me with, designing their home
Of
and
course.
investing in, and I didn't have a book or a portfolio or anything like that. So I had this minor brainstorm of getting my real estate license in hopes of selling them the apartment that then maybe needed some design work or something like that.
Brilliant.
And I would love to tell you that it was methodically planned out, but it was like a series of happy accidents.
What were some key lessons that you learned about people, sales, and trust during your time in real estate?
Well, especially at that time, that's a time when image was becoming very important.
Right.
Now, of course, it's paramount with social media and all that. Whether it be real or not is open for debate. But at that time, people were very drawn to the image that you would project. So, I
Right.
mean, how I started my business was I had no money. I literally got 3 or 4 of the best suits I could afford, had them tailored within a life of themselves, and I sat at the bar at Barney's up at Fred's,
Wow.
nursing an iced tea for about 6 hours a day with a stack of business cards. And people would sit down and talk to you, and what you learned quickly then was the art of engagement,
Right.
the art of getting to know someone, talking to them, being interested in what they had to say, whether you weren't or not, and then having them interested in you.
Right.
And then probably after about 2 weeks of doing that and going through a lot of iced tea and business cards, one woman sat down and we started up a conversation, and she literally was selling her apartment on the west side, looking to move to the east side. And I got the listing, turned it around, and from then on, I was very fortunate.
Fantastic.
Very fortunate.
I love that. I love that. The lessons that you learned in terms of business and running your own business, have they benefited you in your fashion ventures? And
I think they benefit you in no matter what business
Right.
you're in. A lot of it is you're a fireman. You put out fires, and it's crisis management. Just like in life, it's especially true in business. It's not the problems that occur; it's your reaction to
Right.
them that determine how big or how small they're going to be. If you make a mountain out of a molehill, that's exactly what it'll be. So you learn to deal with people and problems on the fly quickly and diffuse things before they get out of hand. That is one of the most invaluable tools you can have in business.
adapting.
Yeah,
Ada-
100%.
adapting.
And learning to just put out the fire before it becomes a fire.
Was there a particular client or deal that stands out to you, as like a monumental type of move during your real estate career, or one that just sticks out for some reason?
Well, they all have their own individual story. I mean, especially in New York real estate, I could tell you 100 stories that would either make your skin crawl or that you'd be like, oh, wow, you know?
Right.
And I don't know that I could pick out one, but I would tell you that the overall theme is that, especially in New York, it is literally like no other place in the world in that respect, largely because of the characters and the amount of money that you're dealing with. I mean,
Expectation.
it's at such an elevated level and such an elevated pace that I would say the if you ask any real estate broker, the probably the deal that sticks out the most is the last one they made.
I can relate to that as someone who
course.
eats what they hunt.
Exactly.
I can relate to that. How did you build credibility in a field as competitive as New York City real estate?
Well, a lot of that is how you present yourself and the kind of energy you give off.
Mm-hmm.
When I sat at that bar with no money, I had a perception of image that I had a huge office on Madison Avenue with 80 people working under me, and
This is what you project.
at that time, I don't recommend this now per se, but at that time especially,
Right.
it was fake it until you make it. And I didn't really have many choices at that point. So I tried to be me, and just sort of an elevated version of me.
Right.
And you projected an image at that time that I looked like I knew what I was doing. And having grown up in New York and been through many different things in New York, I did know what I was doing.
Right.
And so I walked in there with that confidence. Confidence is something that cannot be underestimated, especially in this world, especially for young people today who lack so much of it,
Yeah.
or they have it in an unwarranted way. It is a tough thing to watch.
Well, you got to have a potent balance of confidence and humility.
Absolutely.
And I think, our generation, previous generations, that was much more on display. I think it's a
100%.
tougher kind of quality to find.
100%.
Pivoting to the style portion of your career, was there a single conversation or moment that sparked your transition and it kind of inspired you to kind of make this move from real estate and commit to going into fashion?
There were two, actually.
Okay.
One, it was from my sister, who you know
Yes.
very well, who has no filter whatsoever.
Yes, the queen.
The queen, in all of her majesty. When I started styling a lot of my real estate clients, because you're with them so long, inevitably they would ask you, "Oh, where'd you get your jacket? Where did
Right.
you?" And you develop this relationship with them that it would end up I would take them shopping, and when I couldn't find what I wanted for them in the store, I would take them to my tailor to have it made. But it was a long, involved process. And of course, the queen having no filter, she was like, "You gotta charge for that, man. You gotta,
Right.
She's
Right.
like, "That's
She's
a
your biggest
service.
advocate.
It's a service, damn it." And I was like, well, okay, maybe, I felt weird about charging people for it.
Right.
But that was something that planted a seed. And then one of my really good friends, who happened to be my tailor, right when social media came along, he called me one day and he said, "Listen, man, half the people in this store that I get now, especially young guys, are coming in with you on the phone saying, 'You made him this. Can you make me this?'"
Right.
He said, and it was a family-run business, and he said, we gotta figure out a way to, monetize this.
Right.
And through some haphazard set of circumstances that I would love to tell you were planned, but was completely fell into our lap. A space became available. I had already started designing a collection at that point.
Right.
And because of social media, it literally, right out of the box,
Exploded. To
for
some
lack of a better term.
to some extent, I was there. I witnessed it. You're being modest, but yes,
we were super fortunate.
But you're not just designing clothes. You're shaping confidence, right? And talk to me about that part of your job that really gets into somebody's personal brand, the way that they feel about themselves, and things of that nature. Because I know that that's something that appeals to you.
Yeah, I never really wanted the CKC brand. I never really wanted it to be about how to dress. I wanted it to be about how to live. And all that comes with that. It's what it represents.
Right.
Elegance, confidence, good manners, respect towards other people, pulling out a chair for a woman at a dinner table. I mean, soup to nuts. How to live an elevated life, especially in a time that's being downgraded by the day. And I wanted it to represent something that people could hold on to, that
Right.
those things still matter. And not only do they still matter, but that they're integral to living an elevated life. And if you start to let them slip by the wayside, you'll find the quality of your life starts slipping by the wayside as well.
That's so true. And I think that when somebody feels that they look good and they dress a certain way, they come to the world and present themselves a different way. It's a different energy that you bring to the world.
Absolutely. And it opens up doors for you that never would open for you if you were anything less than that. And you just, it's also a show of respect to the world that, you know, I took the effort to put my best foot forward, not for myself and what I have to gain, but as a show of respect to you, that I think that much of you, that I took that time to put my best foot forward.
There had to be times, even though your business exploded, where you had some doubt, right? Or you know, maybe you felt like imposter syndrome. Even you with hundreds of thousands of followers. Can you describe to me kind of what you do when doubt creeps in, or kind of how you may counter that?
It's a hard question for me to answer because I never thought in a million years it would take on the life that it did. I was always just pleasantly surprised that it did. The imposter syndrome thing, I'm not a real big believer in. You either, that's only comes into your life when you are comparing yourself to somebody else. And if you use that as the measuring stick, you will inevitably never measure up because you're using the wrong measuring stick.
Right.
The measuring stick is, were you better than you were yesterday? If you're not that, then yeah, you probably didn't do so great.
Right.
So try harder and you'll be better than you were yesterday, tomorrow.
Right.
Great. But if that imposter thing, you are looking at social media or whatever you're looking at, and you're thinking to yourself, I am not as good as X, Y, and Z. That is a road to destruction.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that when you compete with yourself, that's really when you see progress.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So when it comes to fashion, do you remember the first custom piece that you designed?
I did. I actually, it's not, just like everything else in life, you look back at old photos of yourself, hairstyles you had, or the look you had 15 years ago, and you're like, oh, what was I thinking? It's not that much different than when we first started. It was also a very different time. Then it was, the bolder you were, the more, I understand why I did it, because I felt like, especially for young men, they lacked the confidence to get out there. I mean, unless it was your NBA draft day suit, and it was like, of course, bright pink or whatever. They lacked the confidence. They looked at something bold and said, oh, I could never wear that. I hated hearing that. But you can wear anything you want.
Well, you do. you're able to wear colors that would make other people look terrible. You've got lavender and purple and pinks and pastels.
But that's for two reasons.
Yeah.
One is I know what doesn't look good on me, and every guy, there's certain shades that don't look good on you,
Right.
and you should avoid those.
Right.
And the other reason, and the more important reason, is I just don't give a fuck, and you shouldn't either. If it makes you feel good, put it the fuck on and walk out the door.
That's it. That's
Period.
it. It's a simple rule to live by.
Absolutely.
How, I know that you didn't receive private equity funding and all, and you're not a trust fund baby.
I wish. Oh, I wish that too.
How did you bootstrap the business when you were first sort of building it out from a fashion perspective and kind of get the pieces together?
Well, I mean, I was fortunate enough because of the real estate business that, I didn't have to go to outside sources to fund it. And my friend Carl, who was my business partner, between the two of us, we had enough money to get it going. And we said from the beginning, we said, okay, look, if we don't sell one single garment for an entire year or 18 months, can we still keep the lights on and have a good time? And we sort of backtrack it and sort of figured out what those numbers were. Mm-hmm. We said, okay, so that'll be our initial investment. And I thought that would be the outcome, right? We'd sell 2 suits, one for him, one for me, and we wouldn't sell a damn thing or any piece of clothing or any. And also, remember, like a year and a half after we opened, COVID hit.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I thought for sure, but we were fortunate enough that it was quite the opposite, and it took off right away. And even through the pandemic, we were still selling stuff online, and it was crazy. And I thought we would be shutting the door in 6 months, and it went completely the opposite way. And I mean, I couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah, I mean, your story has a through line of hustle, right? I think that you appreciate that. We talked about that.
Sure.
And your personal brand is unmistakable. From day one, how intentional has your image been that you've cultivated, and kind of the messaging that you're sending?
Zero. But I don't think that's the way to do it. So anybody out there who's listening, I think you have to be very intentional about starting your business, what you're looking to project, cultivating an image. For me and my own personal story, it was completely the opposite. It was just who I was. And honestly, we couldn't afford to put another face to the brand and hire photographers, media people, a person to be the face of. I was already there. I worked cheap, and I had a camera, and so that's how it was who I already was at the time that we started it. I was still running around like a madman in the real estate business, and I would take 10, 15 minutes out of my day to put a camera on top of a fire hydrant on West 58th Street, snap 20 pictures, pray that my eyes are open in one, and then I gotta go because I gotta go. I have a showing over here or whatever, and then I gotta go back to the shop and dress somebody, and that's all I knew how to do. And it came almost out of necessity. It was just part of the hustle culture is you figure it out. You're presented with a problem or a challenge, and you figure it out. People are so quick to give up these days and saying it's too hard. You'll figure it out.
That's one of the things that I admire about you. You seem to be very willing to take imperfect action. That, I think many people, most people wait until there's ideal circumstances, and that day never comes. That day rarely happens.
That day never comes. The day you think, because then you run into a problem of, well, once I have this, then I'll get that. That day never comes. You have what you have today. You make the best out of, If you can't afford a camera to take pictures, use your phone. If you make the best of what you have right now,
Right.
and it'll organically get to a point where you'll be fine.
Since your personal brand is so strong, do you have any advice for people who are looking to define or refine their personal brand, to take?
I would say probably the most important thing to do is not follow what somebody else is doing. There's just too much of that these days.
So authenticity is really the key.
Authenticity is key in everything, but also something to separate yourself. One of the worst terminologies that I think social media came up with is followers, right? I would much rather have you join me than follow me.
Right.
You're not going to get anywhere by following somebody else, trying to figure out a blueprint that they use and apply it to yourself. You can be inspired by somebody, sure, but you have to find something that separates you and that is authentically you, because the fact of the matter is, just by you being you is enough.
Right.
There's only one of you. Your thumbprint is an original.
Right.
There is no other like it in the world. You have to capitalize on that. What is it about you? Take those components about you that make you unique, both good and bad,
Right.
and apply them to what you're trying to project.
It's funny. I see correlation in job seekers, right? So I tell them to identify their unique value proposition. You have to understand what sets you apart, right? In a sea of people, and it's a similar kind of.
And what do you bring
idea
to the table that I haven't seen 20 times before you?
Right.
Give me something. Especially in today's day and age, we're just inundated with so much of the same thing. If you go on YouTube, if you're someone who watches YouTube right now,
Right.
and obviously the algorithm figures out what you like and whatever, you can pick out the thumbnails that are sort of replicas of each other, that are clickbait trying to get you to watch this, and that. If you take a step back and look at it as a whole, there's nothing unique there.
There's nothing original.
Correct. The one that you're going to click on is the one that makes you go, what the hell are they talking about? Really?
Right.
And something unique, something different, something that you haven't seen, 900 times before.
I'm always interested with such a large audience that you have on Instagram. Do you keep boundaries? Are there things that you prefer not to share, and just keep to yourself and kind of personal?
We've talked about this before. I had a discussion and I won't mention their names, with a very well-known media marketing company.
Yeah.
And they are wildly successful and probably the top in the world. And I was very honored they came to me wanting me to be a client, and, it was two young ladies very much younger than myself were like,
Flattering.
Totally blow you up, and you have amazing engagement, and I was flattered that the things they had to say. But the first thing they said to me is that the brand was so popular not because of the clothing or the style or whatever, but because we live in a celebrity culture. The way to really elevate it was for it to become more personal about you. Where are you eating? Where do you live? What does your apartment look like? What car do you drive? All this stuff. And the first thing out of their mouth was, the first thing you have to do is take your shirt off.
Nice.
Now, for me, I see a lot of guys my age
Right.
on social media taking their shirt off. And that may be a thing. I'm trying to hold on to what little respect I have for myself. And I'm in the clothing business, okay?
Putting clothing on.
I'm trying to put clothing on people, not take it off. And I don't want to project, but I understand what they're saying, in that they want to see the lifestyle, right? how often you work out, how did you get abs like that? And
Right.
what's your diet? All this stuff.
Right.
And if they actually saw what I ate, and this more than anybody, they'd be horrified.
I have to attest to this. I mean, you have the DNA and metabolism of an alien, and you're able to eat pints of ice cream and things that people would just dream about and not put on a pound, my man. So I want to choke you because of that.
Appreciate that on many levels. But that's not what I'm trying to project, because then what am I doing? Then I'm trying to be a celebrity. I don't want to be a celebrity.
Right.
I want to inspire somebody and have a business that sustains itself and hopefully helps someone be a better version of themselves. I'm not the fame part of it, or the
was never the allure
It was
for
not
you.
my thing at all.
What do you think most people get wrong about developing their personal brand, and going about it? Do you think that people is it this follow? Is it to emulate?
I think
dupe,
they
this
try.
dupe society?
I think they're looking for a shortcut. I think they're looking for a way to get there faster. We live in a instant gratification world, and they'll look to somebody else and who's had success,
right,
and try to emulate it exactly. You can't be them. It'll never work. You have to put your own spin on it. You have to bring something to the table that's uniquely yours, and something that is of value. What do you bring to the table? When people come and they interview and they want to work with us, and they want to, I'm like, show me something that is going to add value for both of us. For one, that you're going to get the experience, and you're passionate about it and whatever, and that you bring something to the table that is of value to me, that's totally unique, that I can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you're going to convince me that you're the only one that has it. If you can do that, you're halfway in the door. I'm already into you, because if I'm feeling that way, the clients that we have, they'll feel that way too.
Yeah, that's a great point as a business owner. The qualities, traits, and characteristics that are most important are the ones that can't be taught, right? Pride in the quality of work that you do, common sense, proactive problem-solving nature, like all those things. 100%. You either have that or you don't.
And if you don't, and you know that you don't, figure out a way to get it or get more of it. Right. Because your time is limited, and there are a million of you competing for the same goal. You're not going to make it with that mindset.
Right.
Period.
I consider you a kind person, and I think that kindness has been kind of like also a big part of your personal brand and your persona. How does kindness play a role in the way that you live your life or you approach your business?
Well, especially in today's day and age, being human is becoming harder and harder. In a world of AI and people believing everything they see on social media as fact, or how we treat each other in this world, is not great, and sadly is getting worse. But at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and regardless of where you come from or your background or your political beliefs or whatever, if you cut us, we all bleed the same. And if this world had a little more respect for each other, regardless of what pronoun they are or what their background is,
right,
whatever, if we were a little open-minded and a little more caring, this place would be a much better place. So if you can contribute to that just a little bit, a little goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that. I'm somebody who is a believer in that ripple effect, and
Totally.
and
You know
it's,
it better than
it
anybody.
boomerangs. If
Absolutely.
you put that out there, that's what comes back to you,
100%.
for sure. I often say you were born in the wrong era. That what is it about the Rat Pack or that golden age that just appeals to you?
Well, what appeals to me is, by today's standards, politically very
Incorrect.
by a multitude
Get some
of
dolls and hang out.
Honestly, yeah,
Yeah.
because, and I don't mean this by any sort of gender identity
Right.
sort of angle. I mean that it was a time where men were men and women were women. And by that, I don't mean defined roles
Right.
or one being higher than the other. You know, women by far are the better sex, right? They're smarter than men, they're tougher than men, they have less hangups than men. They smoke us in every conceivable way.
Right.
That being said, there is one driver of the bus,
Right.
and he's not wearing a skirt.
Right.
Period. And that era sort of defined that. Now, they may have taken it to the extreme,
Right.
and sort of suppressed a certain, but there was an elegance, a respect. If you look at photographs or movies or
Right.
things from that era, you will see what is referred to as the common working man,
Right.
or a laborer in a shirt and tie, and on the street digging coal. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that, but it's what that represents. It's again that show of respect and elevated sort of existence.
Civility.
Civility is a great word.
I remember seeing old time photos of ball games, and men showed up to ball games.
Look at the
in
crowd.
Suits. Yeah, the suits and hats.
Incredible. I mean, versus now where Lululemon and a water bottle is, evening wear.
Right.
It's not. The dumbing down of everything, the watering down of everything, it's what it represents. It's the laziness. It's the not caring. It's the, I want to be comfortable. All of these things permeate like a disease.
Yeah.
Society as a whole, and it engenders a way of thinking that is incredibly destructive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that this sense of self-pride and how you show up in the world is more important than people give it credit for.
1000%.
Do you think that anybody, famous or not today, embodies this kind of Rat Pack kind of feel and look? It just pulls that off well? Is there somebody that you look to and say, when I see him, he reminds me of somebody I would have palled around with in Vegas back in the 50s?
Oh, you mean like someone of today's
Today,
era?
yeah. Is there anybody that you think about that you?
Wow, that's a hard one to answer because there aren't many. There are guys who show glimpses of it that the first one that comes to mind, honestly, and he's a young guy, is Ryan Gosling.
Oh, sure.
He has a certain, he doesn't take anything too seriously,
Right.
yet he knows how to put it together. And you look at guys, take someone like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, can shave his head, grow a thing. It's impossible to make the guy ugly.
Right.
But that's not elegance. That's not,
Right.
There's a certain way to
Carry yourself, right.
And especially in today's Hollywood, it kind of pains me to see them, Hollywood's become more fashion than style. So there's no glamour, there's trend. Something will be trending and they'll wear it on the red carpet. It dumbs down, it waters down their movie star status to me.
Yeah.
When you think of movie stars, if I say the term movie star, you're thinking of people 20 years ago.
Correct.
You're not thinking
Or
of
even further.
current day people
No.
who are content creators and maybe popular, and maybe it's not quite the same, and it doesn't, for me personally,
Right.
it doesn't move. It doesn't mean these people aren't talented or have their own thing. It just doesn't move the needle for me and say, hey, wow, look at that guy.
Love that. The Christopher Corey collection is more than just a brand. It's like a movement, right?
God.
And so I'm sure that the wheels are always turning, and I know this because you're a very creatively driven person. What's next, in line? Can you share with people that, without divulging, secrets, any kind of projects or things that are dropping?
We have been very fortunate in that we've had a lot of offers to scale it up.
Wow.
And we've been super fortunate in that way. It's a difficult proposition for a couple of reasons. One is I never wanted it to become less personal.
Mm.
And by that I mean, if we open 10 stores, around the country or in Europe or in Asia or what, it becomes less personal. We then become, a brand that's pushing a product.
Right.
The thing, especially at our store on 55th Street, it's become a temple, right? It's a
Right.
temple where people come, they're relaxed, they enjoy the experience as much as
It's a step back in time. It's a time of a nostalgic period where
it is.
gentlemen walk the street,
Absolutely.
and you get a feel for what it was like to go shopping in a haberdashery, back in the
100%.
40s.
That part was intentional.
Yeah.
That I have to say, I wanted that from the beginning, and we worked really hard to make that happen. And it's hard to replicate that without commercializing it too much and watering it down.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And so the simple answer, the shorter answer to your question is, we do have those offers. How it's executed, I think, really matters.
Right.
And if it can't be done in a way that I can live with, or that I see that there's an amazing opportunity to create something good, not just, and this is super important, not just about the clothing,
Right.
but about creating an incubator for creativity. And by that I mean artists, photographers, clothing designers, chefs.
A collective.
Very much a collective, and that is what CKC stands for. It's a collective of celebrating people who have a gift of creativity and helping them bring it to market. If we can somehow cultivate that, including our own, that is the ultimate goal. And if I can convince the powers that be that have made these very generous offers to us to do that, I'll open 50 stores around the world. And if they can each have their own unique personality and cultivate that, I will sign up for that in a minute.
That's great. I mean, we discussed this. It's tough because you and the brand are one and the same, and you have such a hands-on approach that it's tough to separate, right? And you'd have to be cloned, right? And that when people
you don't want that.
you don't want that.
No.
And when people come to the store, they want this interaction. They want this personal experience. That's one of the things you were sharing.
Correct. And that is tough to scale. I can't be in two places at the same time, and that part is difficult, which is why I want to expand it into this incubator of creativity, because then it's not reliant on me.
Right.
It's reliant on whoever is cultivating at that time.
Right.
And so instead of me being celebrated for this and that, it'll be them.
Right.
And they will have an opportunity to showcase what they can do and bring. So it's almost like, the like having children that you pass things on to,
Yeah.
or the next generation. It would be, I mean, a life goal for me to do that, and watch someone else come up and have some success, and bring their creativity
great
to the
thought.
world, and then they can pay it forward to somebody else.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Hopefully.
When you think about it, is there anybody in history, or that's alive today, that you would love to dress? Is there someone who you're like, you know what, man, it's Sinatra. If Sinatra was around today, is he the guy, or is there somebody?
Well, Sinatra really didn't need any help, so he didn't need any help in a lot of things.
Right.
There's two answers to that question. I would say the first is I would like to take all of the current Hollywood movie stars or celebrities and give them a makeover. I've watched the Oscars for the past 5 years, and I honestly
brutal.
have been horrified. Just let me get me in there. Just Hollywood is supposed to look like this, in my opinion. Others, and as time moves on, it may change.
Let me qualify this by saying that you are somebody who feels most comfortable in a suit, and
that's me. But that's not for everybody. But
No.
if you're gonna show up to the Oscars, look the
absolutely.
part. Don't not that. The other answer to that question, as far as history goes,
Yeah.
and people in history, it would probably be a toss-up between Martin Luther King and Muhammad Ali.
Whoa, love that.
I would say either one. Not because really they need any style advice. I would just want to hang out with them and pick their brain.
I love that.
I would like to do that at Sinatra too, but
You're aiming a little higher.
I'm trying to.
When I think about a life well lived, I think about a legacy, right? And do you have a sense of the legacy that you would like to leave in terms of style and substance?
Style, no. Substance, yes. In that, if I leave this place a better place than when I came into it, I've done my job. But more importantly, and by that I really mean, the legacy will be how many lives I will have affected along the way in a positive way. And whether it's one or
A true measure of success.
and that, I mean, ultimately,
For you, that is the impact.
to me, yes, that is how you define the success of your life. Is not only, not what you put in the bank, but what you put in the bank of the human condition.
Right.
How much you helped by being here, how much you made this place a better place by the fact that you were here and
Right.
did what you did.
When it comes to design, I think about these crazy kind of eclectic fashion designers that have this process. Do you have a process that you go through when you're designing that's a creative process?
It's completely ass backwards. So it's like many things in my life. If you talk to the majority of designers,
Right.
and the ones that are really talented, I marvel at designers. They'll sit down at a pad and they'll sketch it out, and I'm in awe of those people. They are truly gifted in so many ways.
Right.
Thug Boy here does it the complete opposite way. They will sketch something out, and then they will apply fabrics to that piece that they think will work, and different cloths and a different mood, and whether they put sequins on it or
Right. You hear about mood boards and all these
100%,
things.
and it's all this curated. It's fabulous. I'll give you a really good example. We
Okay.
did a runway show in Paris
Right.
when we first started, and it was right before the pandemic happened, and things were just starting to shut down a little bit. And 2 weeks before the show, our mills in Italy all shut down. We couldn't get the fabrics for this. So my business partner and I, Carl, we went down to the garment center.
Right.
And this is how I designed. So we were very fortunate in that the process, I mean, it was a catastrophe, but the process didn't change. I see the cloth or I see the fabric, and in my mind, that would look great as a fill in the blank. And I'm inspired by the coloration, the texture. For me, it's fabric first.
Right.
In our business, for me, it's fit first. Fit. I can make the cheapest garment in the world look good if it fits properly. But as far as designing from the ground up, for me, it's cloth. I'm inspired by that's unique, the texture, the color, the pattern, and then I say to myself, that would look great as a whatever you want to make it. Most designers, the majority of designers, it's the complete opposite. Yeah. So, I have designer's dyslexia.
I love that. Well, that's a unique approach, and that's what it works. It works for you. I want to do something now called a rapid fire, and just I've been lobbing some softballs at you, and I'm just gonna ask some quick questions. Whatever first comes to mind, give me that. Give me that answer. No, this is gonna be great. Do you have a signature cocktail?
Bourbon Manhattan on the rocks with a cherry twist.
Nice. Favorite tailor who is no longer with us?
Oh, wow. A guy named Jack Taylor in Beverly Hills who used to dress Hollywood's elite. And I knew him, and he was a character, and I miss him every day.
That's awesome. Can you give me a style rule that should never be broken?
Sure, if you see a rule, break it.
So no rules.
0.
What's the nicest compliment you ever received?
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you had to define success, how would you define success?
Growth, both personally, professionally, and as you are in this world as a human being.
Love that. What's your message to anybody who may be listening that feels stuck in the current career that they're in and is looking for, a way to possibly make a change? Any advice?
I'd say the most important thing is don't follow lead, and by lead, I mean, you don't have to lead a movement or, an army of people. Lead yourself. Your inner voice and your gut has an amazing track record.
Right.
It's never been wrong. Whether you listen to it or not, different story. And we all have a unique inner voice. If you listen to it and stop being influenced by the things you see on your phone or computer or whatever, just be still and listen to that inner voice. It has the majority of the answers you're looking for. You just need to listen to it.
Awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming in and spending this inaugural episode of No Resume Required.
The virgin episode.
Please tell people where they can find you and CKC.
First of all, let me tell you, I appreciate you, brother. There's no doubt in my mind this is going to be a raging success. It's going to be a raging success because of you.
Thank you.
And what you bring to the table. It's the compliment effect. It's going to happen.
I appreciate
it as well as I do, and
appreciate that, brother.
I'm just happy to be along on the ride. They can find me on Instagram at Christopher Corey, and we have our store here in New York. 27 West 55th Street in Manhattan.
Did you hear that, folks? 27 West 55th. Go in and say hello to Chris. Make an appointment.
Yes, we do. We generally do it by appointment only because otherwise it gets too crazy, and we like to spend enough time with people. I never really wanted it to be a store, where like just 20 people milling around, and you can't give everybody the attention they deserve. So we try to do it very one-on-one and form a relationship.
Love it. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this first inaugural episode of No Resume Required. Hope you enjoyed and look forward to seeing you all next time. Thanks so much.